you?
Hanging in there.
Good. Very good. Say, I got your background sheet as well as all of the attachments. Thank you for sending everything for Cricket. You've had a lot go on, needless to say.
Yeah. It just kind of blindsided us. This is my first Chihuahua ever, any toy breed. I have a Min Pin, but, you know, she just got some heart problems. But then you just throw this. Cricket was my backup to the Min Pin.
Yep.
And I never had a toy breed and never even knew about this disease.
Well, and probably the other big thing that you have since learned but you didn't know about is that we give the 7-pound Chihuahua the exact same dose of vaccine as the 250-pound Great Dane, which unfortunately was the root cause of why your dog unraveled, which I know you figured out.
Yeah.
So it's frustrating, and it's hard to not be initially angry and then feel like if everyone knows this, why was I the last one to find out? And more importantly, if my 7-pound dog does get a parvo, distemper, adenovirus, parainfluenza, leptospirosis, Bartonella rabies every year, the exact same dose that a 250-pound dog would get, why aren't we scaling back down to be an appropriate 7-pound dose? And so all that to say, the good news is Cricket is off the hook with further vaccines. Once you have an autoimmune crisis and live through it, and she has done that, she is legally off the hook. All you have to do, and I know that you're working with a new veterinary, I think Dr. Rowan you mentioned in your notes, that's your local integrative vet, correct?
Right. Well, technically, Cricket has two vets. She has Acredale Animal Hospital, which is Dr. Elliott,
Yep.
and he is very non-homeopathic.
Yep.
Even when I mentioned homemade dog food, he was just like, no.
I saw that in the record. In fact, it was kind of funny. It said, owner has questions about changing the diet, and then there was a colon. It said discouraged.
Yeah.
So, and I could see that from the record. And you know, if you also are figuring out wisely. The days of having one veterinarian that will meet all your needs are done. So just as you probably have a dermatologist, a gynecologist, maybe a chiropractor, maybe a nutritionist, maybe a cardiologist, maybe a GP, Cricket will have a local holistic vet, maybe a referring lifestyle veterinarian like a wellness vet like myself that you consult with 2 to 3 times a year. But your local hands-on day-to-day when you've got to get stuff done, you're wise to recognize, and you can even say to Dr. Elliott, you know, I appreciate that you can see me on nights and weekends or emergency, but that being said, I am partnering with other people to make additional wise lifestyle choices because clearly your one opinion is not going to resonate with what I need at this point. Mostly what we need from Dr. Elliott is for him or her to recognize that there is no more combination vaccines for this dog. And the reason that I'm stressing this early on is that I can't tell you the number of autoimmune encephalopathy cases that I've treated. And we've managed them just as Cricket's prognosis. In all the sheets that you sent me, it says prognosis grim. Grim or poor means they're anticipating her dying from this. So every single time it says, you know, prognosis poor, prognosis poor, every veterinarian doesn't want to stick their head out and say your dog's going to live through this. Well, if we pull her through this, I can't even tell you the number of times I've worked with animal owners, and we pulled their dogs through it only for a veterinarian a year down the road to forget the dog had this experience. When the dog is in the back room for a nail trim, they accidentally they forget, and they unnecessarily vaccinate the dog, and the dog dies. So what I would tell you to do is next time you go into all of your veterinarians, say, please write across the top of Cricket's file, she cannot ever have vaccines ever again. Now, you already know about this. You can do the titer. So if Dr. Elliott says, what about rabies? You can say, yeah. It said you have to sign a rabies certificate that says my dog is healthy enough to receive vaccine and she's got autoimmune encephalopathy. She's not healthy. You can do a quick blood test for rabies titer. Mm-hmm. I can promise you Cricket's toxic with rabies like she is with everything else, and then you're off the hook. So just number one on the things that you're writing down, no vaccines ever again. And that's really important.
Yeah. And Dr. Rowland said he would do that, no hesitation whatsoever. So if Elliot gives me grief, oh well, so sad, too bad. I'll one way or the other, I'll get that.
Exactly. And you know, I have a feeling, especially, you know, if Dr. Elliott gives you any psych, if you could say, are you going to take responsibility if my dog has another autoimmune reaction or dies from this? Whose liability is that? Is that because I'm saying I don't want to do that. The risk is too great. Are you going to take full responsibility if my dog has any issues, which she will have? Are you willing to take full legal and economic responsibility for this? Because this right now, this has costed you thousands, and it will happen if she's vaccinated. It will happen again. And it's not even about the money. If your dog dies from a vaccine that she's given next year, your dog no longer is here, and that's irreplaceable. So it's not even if Dr. Elliott can pay you $5,000 for your medical expenses. Your dog died because of unnecessary vaccine. So all that to say, usually when veterinarians are put up against the liability issue, they're like, okay, never mind, we're not going to vaccinate. So usually you don't have to go that far. In some instances, especially if you've got middle-aged control freak men that want to run the show, sometimes you have to go there, but I think you're probably going to be fine. You can just say to Dr. Rowan, you know, my dog tried to save my dog's life. I know that she's got autoimmune disease. The worst, it's contraindicated. You can't ethically, morally, or medicinally vaccinate an animal with autoimmune disease. So whoever would suggest that is not only maybe not the most up-to-date on their CE, at that point, they're not even using their head. So I would, if anyone even suggests vaccinating an autoimmune dog, you need to question them in terms of their medical ethics right off the bat.
Right.
So no more vaccines for Cricket. You've pulled her along this far. God bless her. She's doing okay. The last thing we want to do is stir the pot.
Okay.
Now, do you feel, I know Michelle sent me a word this morning that she's down to 2.5 milligrams of Pred, which is very good. Do you feel like in the last several weeks that her neurology is stable? Do you feel like I can see from all the reports that she's slowly and consistently getting better. Do you feel like there are some days where she is more stumbly, she's definitely not more stable, and then, so like 2 or 3 days she's doing great, and then you have a bad day, 3 or 4 days she's doing great, you have a bad day, or is she consistently better week to week?
She is consistently better week to week, but let me phrase that with, for example, one day I forgot to give her vitamin, and her vitamin consists of those things that I told you that I put in a capsule. Yep. And it also has B12, and I noticed the next day my husband said she seemed more tired. And a little more wobbly. So I don't know if it's because she really needs the B12 and all the other stuff. She's still weak. I mean, I sent you guys links of videos that you could watch where you could see her how she goes down the stairs, which she's attempted just recently. I do have a doggy walker because she's not real stable on tile floors yet. Some days are better than others, and she can recover right away and keep from going on her belly and you know, doing the sprawl, the swim thing. But then there's other days where she's just not as coordinated. I'm not sure how much of her vision she's got back. I mean, it's just hard to tell.
Exactly. So one other question pertaining to that. Are you capable right now of covering up the floors that she has to walk on? If you've got tile everywhere, are you capable of going to Walmart and buying some cheap runners so you give her a tactile padded surface that will help keep her feet underneath her? Can you make a path around your house where she has to walk that is at least temporarily covered so she's not slipping?
Yeah, I've already done it in the living room. It's like my living room is a hodgepodge of throw rugs at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
I bought a big, you know, it's what they put kids' balls in to go like play with those balls or whatever. I bought a big one of those, and I'm going to put the yoga mat in there and hot glue gun it down. So when we go out, I can stick her in that. She still it's open, but she can't get out of it. And I'm going to put.
And so. And the reason I'm suggesting that is that, you know, her MRI showed that she actually has mild syringomyelia, moderate hydrocephalus, which are two conditions common with the breed. Before she was diagnosed with her immune-mediated encephalopathy, she has two breed-specific flaws, congenital from birth defects in her skull and top of her head. Mm-hmm. And the reason that I'm suggesting you not let her slip to the best of your ability, obviously, that you not give her access to uncovered tile right now, is that if she were to slip down and hit her little chin enough, even though you get her over the hump of the immune-mediated encephalopathy, her syringomyelia as well as her hydrocephalus could come back to haunt her. So if you're able to, all that to say, when it comes to her slipping and tripping, because she's not 100% stable, you reducing the likelihood of her slipping, tripping, falling is just a smart idea. So if you've done that, then awesome. I just put that down on a quick list for you to take care of.
Okay.
Now, pertaining to her diet, when I went over her medical records, it's interesting. She's actually had both types of the most common types of crystals that dogs have had. She's had magnesium ammonium phosphate crystals. We also call those struvites. But the next year analysis you did, she had calcium oxalate crystals. So she's actually had two types of crystals. They put her on this CD food. But I'm glad that you're beginning to think about changing her diet. Here's my concern about the diet, that the homemade diet from Dr. Becker that you've been given. What we know to be true, and I know that she's gained some weight. I know originally, like, she should be about 5 pounds, and she's at 7.5. Is that correct?
That's correct. And when she first got sick, she was at 5 pounds. And then after the pred, she just huge amount of weight.
Yep, exactly. So I'm going to try and run through a bunch of points. You're going to be amazed at how quickly this 30 minutes goes. But one of the things I want to do is I do want to improve the quality of her food. I know that that's your goal, too. My concern about the recipes that you currently put forward to me is that those are Dr. Becker's healthy powder food recipes that were initially constructed in 1993, and they don't meet ASCO compliance today. And what that means is ASCO, which is the organization that does research every year to determine the minimum nutrient requirements for dogs, it has changed. Like, for instance, we realized that dogs need more vitamin D than what they did in 1993. So the recipes that you have are outdated. So I'm all about you getting her off of the terrible CD food. I'm right there with you.
She's
However,
off the CD yet. I don't even...
Okay, that's good. Good. And I saw that your local vet was saying give meat, but my concern about, there's not much, I didn't get all the details about the meat, but my concern is that the diet she's currently on, with meat-based diet, the hormone-free chicken and beef is also phosphorus deficient, manganese deficient, iron, vitamin D, calcium, vitamin E. It's very deficient.
Okay.
So I do want to help you balance the diet. Her being on just a meat-based diet can actually, when I say just meat, just giving ground meat, even if it's free-range, hormone-free, it's great, but it's not, you're not giving head, spleen, tail, pineal gland, you're not giving the skeletal, you're not giving bone, you're not giving all those other organs that would come in a baby rabbit if she was a wild dog that she would be eating. So we have to kind of simulate that. All that to say, most people don't want to do that. So your meat is a beautiful start. And I love that Dr. Roland says that you'll need to, you need to get her off of terrible food. The problem is that diet can cause just as many issues.
Okay. Karen, Dr. Becker, she is getting organ meats. I make her organ cookies, and I use some of your recipes to do that. And then I am pouring bone broth on her food. I made beef bone broth, and I pour that on there too. So just so you know.
Yep, and I saw what I knew about the cookies. I saw the bone broth. So you're fine in continuing both of those things, but believe it or not, there's not enough calcium in your bone broth to meet. A dog has a pretty high calcium requirement. Okay. Your homemade treats are fine, but that hopefully is only constituting 15% of her diet. That's going to cause her to gain more weight. So all that to say, here's my suggestion. You take the beautiful meats that you have, whether it's your free-range, ethically raised turkey or beef, and you can combine it with a human-grade, organic, USDA-inspected, grain-free, balanced food that's had done all the work for you. It's a brand called Honest Kitchen. Have you heard of them?
No.
Okay. The website is thehonestkitchen.com.
Mm-hmm.
The type of mix. So what this is a human-grade mix that you're going to add your meat to, and it makes a perfectly balanced diet. That's the easiest, most up-to-date nutritional requirements I want you to do. The recipes that you sent me are literally 20 years old, and they don't meet nutritional standards. What we know now is that dog needs more nutrients than what Dr. Becker knew back then. So no big deal. I set that diet 20 years ago. So, but I do want to make sure, because Cricket needs what we call a recovery diet. We want to give her the most nutrients right now that meets all of her nutrient requirements. You have no choice but to feed a 2016 ASCO-compliant diet, and this recipe will do that. So the type of Honest Kitchen I want you to buy is called Kindly, Kindly. That's so they probably produce 20 different brands within the Honest Kitchen line. The brand I want you to buy is called Kindly. They'll ship it to your door, but you can also use their store locator. I bet that you have several stores in your area and right there in Virginia Beach that can sell it.
Okay. And I mix that with the beef that I'm already buying.
You got it.
And I don't have to use all those supplements, the hormone, the yeast.
You got it.
Oh, that'll be so much easier.
You got it. So last night when I sat down to review her records, at first I was putting together kind of a homemade balanced diet for you, but you have no idea what a pain it is to actually feed a balanced diet. So then this morning I woke up and I was reviewing her records again. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're already using ethically raised great sources of meat. We're just going to add Kindly in there, and you have a totally balanced diet. So just do that. It's easy, it's simple, but it's also gonna take the stress of it out of you. The other thing I'll mention to you is all that Cricket's been through. There is a chance that as we bobble around with diets, there's certainly a chance that she could end up having having loose stool. And as you wean her onto a homemade diet, I don't want to give her any type of diarrhea, GI. The cool thing about you adding kindly to her current meat diet is that you're not going to see any GI problems. She'll lean onto this beautifully, and then she'll be on a balanced diet. I can promise you from the bottom of my heart it's balanced. You don't have to worry about trace mineral or nutrient deficiencies, and she's on her way. So this is the easiest, simplest way to feed her organic at human grade, but to make sure it's up to speed with what she needs for nutrient requirements.
Okay.
Now, that being said, myself, like every other veterinarian on your team, is going to tell you the only way you're going to know that this diet resonates with your dog's body is to check. So 6 to 8 weeks after she's on her kindly and your meat, you are going to drop a first urine of the morning off at whatever vet of your choice and ask them to recheck her urinalysis to make sure her urine pH is beautiful.
Okay.
So I've seen every possible scenario you can imagine in the last 20 years of me being a vet. I've seen absolutely everything. So all that to say, I've seen every diet cause crystals. I have seen CV cause crystals. I've seen every possible diet cause crystals. And part of the reason that is that 10% of dogs genetically create crystals. I don't think Cricket is that dog, but for if you're going to say to me, do you promise that this is going to control crystals? I will tell you that this diet will fix 80% of crystal problems, no problem.
Okay.
If Cricket is a dog that may need cranberry or may need D-mannose or may need something else for her bladder, that urinalysis will tell us. So no big deal, but after she's been on this food 6 to 8 weeks, just drop a urine sample off. Does that make sense?
Yep, makes sense.
Okay, perfect. So here's the deal. I'm actually glad that you sent Michelle the update about your prednisone dose, because if I didn't get that update, this is what I would be telling you. I would be saying, I'm really glad that we got to talk now. As you already know, I don't say impossible to get in to talk to me, but I have a 60-month waiting list. I'm glad that this is a perfect time to have a conversation, because you will not start your integrated protocol until her pred dose gets down to pred every other day, and you're getting close. So the fact that she's down to 2.5 once a day now, the next step your vet is going to tell you is going to be to give pred every other day. So here's the scoop. And let me just tell you in a nutshell what every veterinarian on your team is thinking. In essence, autoimmune disease means that her body attacked itself. So her immune system attacked her brain tissues and caused massive brain inflammation. That's what encephalopathy means. We gave her serious, hardcore drugs to intentionally turn her immune system off. The goal of treatment with her chemotherapy was to shut her immune system down to nothing. Now, that initially when you hear that should scare you. But the truth is, it's either shut her immune system off, and then, in essence, we take her off these drugs. We hope and pray that her immune system doesn't flip out again. But her treatment in a nutshell is shut her entire system off, slam her immune system into the ground, and then as her immune system wakes back up, we hope to God it balances back out at normal. That's the premise of her treatment. So as she's coming off of all these drugs, we're all hoping and praying that she doesn't GME out again. But there's no way of knowing that. So in essence, we pull her off these drugs slowly, and then we wait and see. Well, what I realized when I had my very first case of this 19 years ago, that dog did not stabilize, which means as the dog came off the drugs, the dog went right back into it. So then me being the integrative vet, I'm like, oh my gosh, what could we do? As the dogs are being weaned off their drugs, can't we be doing something to further improve the insurance that they're not going to flip out again? So how I came up with my protocol was looking at things we can do to help keep the central nervous system stable as it comes off of these drugs. So you're at a perfect opportunity with Cricket to be able to institute this. Now, since this time of me using NAC, inositol, B vitamins, glutamine, since this time, a nutraceutical company, the company is called American Biologics, they put together a product called Neural Recovery. And the reason I loved Neural Recovery, Neural Recovery in essence is used for humans that have GME, but they figured out the exact same protocol I figured out, and they have put all of my favorite things for autoimmune encephalopathy patients in one capsule. So I want you to, so instead of you ordering 6 different bottles of supplements, and because you have a hopefully soon-to-be 5-pound dog, the best thing you can do is order the American Biologics Neural Recovery, and you give Cricket a quarter of a capsule once a day. That's going to contain, and when you read the lineup, it's so beautiful because it contains everything that you would have to be purchasing separately, all in one formula.
Okay, awesome. So I guess all these bottles, I just bought, I guess we'll have to use them, right?
Well, yeah, and here's the problem. Especially if you told me you had a 100-pound German Shepherd, we could swing moderating those individual supplements. But you have a 5-pound dog, and it makes it difficult to scale down human dose for some of the supplements that you bought. It makes it really hard to scale down to be biologically appropriate for a 5-pound dog.
Gotcha.
American Biologics made their formulas dilute enough. So 3 capsules, if you look at the dose of that product for a human, it says 3 capsules per serving. 6 capsules a day, that's a lot. And so part of the reason I love this product is it actually is dilute enough that it works for teeny tiny dogs and even cats. So they've done all the guesswork for you. If you buy the American Biologics Neuro Recovery, otherwise you're going to be running a pharmacy out of your kitchen going crazy, trying to pull capsules apart and measuring 1/8 of a capsule. This is just all done for you.
Okay.
So I do want you to start. You're welcome to order that now, and you can start it now. People's number one question is, can I start this once Pred gets down to lowest dose daily, which is where she's going to be? Can you start the neuro recovery? And you can. So you're welcome to start that down now.
Okay, awesome.
The second thing, and people's biggest question, and when you will begin to tremble, all your vets are also trembling at this time. At some point in the near future, I would say, I can't quote your local vet, and I don't want to do that, but at some point they're going to tell you, between the next 2 and 4 weeks, they're going to tell you to reduce Cricket's Pred dose to every other day.
Okay.
When Cricket goes to every other day Pred, you are going to call Dr. Rowan. And you're going to say, Dr. Becker wants you to call in a plant hydrocortisone that is a natural Pred replacement for Cricket. The website is called pethealthpharmacy.com.
Okay.
And they make a plant hydrocortisone. It's also called a plant sterol that acts like prednisone, but it doesn't have any of those really icky side effects long term.
Okay.
You are going to ask Dr. Rowan to call in 5 milligrams of the plant sterol. And I would go ahead and make that phone call, Monday, Tuesday of this week, and I'll tell you why. It's going to take 2 weeks for this supplement to get to your house.
Okay.
And then you have it, because without this supplement, Margaret, this is what your neurologist is going to say. Your neurologist is going to say, okay, reduce her to every other day and start praying now, because this is when your dog could melt down. But when you add the neuro recovery and the plant sterol on board, you have just covered your bases to the best of your ability that will ensure that to the best of Cricket's immunologic ability, she's not going to melt down again.
Okay.
So how you institute this plant sterol is this. When Cricket's neurologist says, okay, move to every other day prednisone, on Cricket's off day, which means on the day that she's not going to be getting prednisone, you're going to give her 1 plant sterol.
1, like, pill?
You got it. 1 5-milligram pill.
Okay.
Shortly after your neurologist says, okay, she's on every other day, okay, girl, stop the Pred.
Okay.
When your local vet says, stop the Pred, you can put Cricket on every other day sterol.
For the rest of her life?
Nope. In fact, most of the time, it's not even for a full year. But I will tell you that we typically go 6 months.
Okay.
Now, that being said, Margaret, here's the deal. 5 milligrams may be too much. And I don't know. I've used 5 milligrams on 5-pound dogs regularly, but I've also seen it cause increased thirst, increased urination. I don't know. She's right on the... If she was 4 pounds, let me just tell you where my brain goes. If she was 4 pounds, I would be having you get there's a transdermal option that Pet Health Pharmacy sells. It's a cream that goes in the ear.
Mm-hmm.
If she was a 4-pound dog, I would be telling you get the cream. But the cream is it's incredibly expensive, and it doesn't work as well.
Okay.
So let me tell you what I would probably do. I would go with the 5 milligram, and the 5 milligram capsules are the lowest capsule that they make.
Mm-hmm.
So I would do the 5 milligrams. I would do it as maintenance every other day for 6 months. If you start noticing she's drinking or peeing a lot, then you're going to open those capsules up and give her half of a capsule every other day versus a full one.
Okay.
So you can do basically 2.5 every other day. Does that make sense?
Yep, that makes sense.
So she will be on this American Biologics Neurorecovery an entire year. You will stop your plant sterol about 6 months in. After she stops the pred, you'll continue with that plant sterol for an additional 6 months. If she's 6 months in and she has no relapses of encephalopathy, you're usually in the clear. I have not in 20 years had a relapse, ever.
Even on NME?
So yep, absolutely. Yep, never had a relapse.
Wow.
So, but we continue these brain anti-inflammatories for 6 months, and 6 months after she comes off the sterol, we continue the neuro recovery.
Okay.
So it's a full year of treatment past the time that they would tell you to stop.
Okay. Yeah, because at one point my neurologist, he was getting all butthurt with me for looking into natural things like this, and I just told him, listen, I'm just checking into it. I haven't put anything into place yet.
Yep.
And then he backed off. You know what I mean? But it's like, I got to do whatever is best for her. It's not about egos.
Well, the other point I want you to bring up to your neurologist is say, I understand that you're concerned. And I remember that I'm not going to stop your protocol to start something natural. But let me tell you, neurologist, what I'm doing. I know your game plan. I know that my dog can't stay on these drugs forever. I read about them, I know. And I know your intention isn't to keep them on, Cricket on them forever. So I know your game plan is to wean her off and then hope to God she's okay. And I get that. Thank you for that approach. Here's my approach. We do your protocol. And when you're weaning her off your protocol, I wean her onto something natural, something safe, something that's side effect free, but something that has historically been proven to help reduce the likelihood of her having a relapse. How could this not be a win-win?
Exactly. Exactly.
And you know what? He's going to look at you and say, oh, well, I guess I didn't look at it that way. I guess it's okay. I think sometimes they think that you're going to stop everything that you've been told, and you're not doing that. You're a very good patient. You're a very good owner. You're following the directions exactly. So I would just let him know that you're in no way not listening to him. You're just taking one extra step precaution to do what you can to reduce the likelihood that Cricket is going to have a relapse. You are in no way crossing, disobeying him, arguing with him. You're 100% on board with what the neurologist is doing. You have done your own independent research, and you do know that there are some things you can be doing to help reduce the likelihood of her having a secondary flare-up of NME, and you're doing what you can do to help reduce the likelihood that this is going to flare again in the future. And how can he bash you for taking extra precautions? He really can't.
No, and he's a wonderful neurologist. I mean, I love him. He's great,
course.
and he's been so good to Cricket. You know, I mean, I even ordered them all wristbands that say fight NME, fight GME on, one side and the other.
Yep.
Yep.
So that being said, I think if you pose it the way that I just suggested, I don't think he can argue with you. I think if you say, listen, I'm following your directions to a T, I'm taking an extra step of precaution. What's your issue? Why would you argue with me and me taking one more step beyond what you're doing? All I'm doing is you're thorough, and I love you for being thorough. I'm being extra thorough, and what are you going to argue about?
It's all natural. Can't hurt her.
Exactly. So I do want you to run this protocol by Dr. Rowan. Let him know that he'll be ordering the Pet Health Pharmacy plant sterol for you. You have the weaning protocol. Here's the scoop, Margaret. If I don't hear back from you, Dr. Rowan, your neurologist, everyone's working together. Everything's going fine. Cricket's doing well. And what I'd like to do is at the 6-month mark, talk to you again for maybe a brief 15 minutes in 6 months. If someone has questions, if she, God forbid, has a flare-up, if something isn't going right, by all means, email Michelle.
Okay.
But I can't tell you the hundreds of patients that I give the local veterinarian the protocol. They go with it, and your local vet can manage her beautifully, and you're off and running.
Okay, awesome. Okay.
Okay.
I'm sure Dr. Rowland will be thrilled because he's never done this protocol, so he was very much interested in it.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully you can relay this to him, and don't take this wrong, but I hope that I don't hear from you, because that means that your girl's doing great.
I hope so too. Oh my goodness, you have no idea. I mean, I'm in the bathtub doing water therapy. I can even send you the video. It's precious, but I'm doing whatever I can to help her.
Well, and let me tell you that as one last tip, you getting her back down to 5 pounds, being 2.5 pounds overweight, believe it or not, it's a massive inflammation status for her. It causes way more systemic inflammation, including in her brain. The best thing you can do for her right now is get that 2.5 pounds off of her. And you do that by, when you order this Honest Kitchen, you're going to feed her for a 5-pound dog.
Okay, and how much is that? How many ounces? Because I'm giving her 1.5 ounces per serving.
So you're going to have to read the back of the box. The back of the box is going to tell you for 5 pounds, feed her that much. And I just want you to follow the directions. But here's the deal. If she's not losing weight, Margaret, you have to feed her less, which means you're going to feed her a reduced calorie, including treats. You're going to give her teeny tiny pea-sized meat-based treats. In fact, just use the meats that you're cooking as her treats. Teeny tiny pea-sized treats.
Okay.
And I want you to make it your goal in the next 6 months to get her back down to 5 pounds. I cannot stress to you how important that is. So that's, on top of all your other goals, that's a big one.
Okay.
Okay, my dear, our time is done. Good luck, and hopefully we'll touch base in 6 months.
Thank you, Dr. Beckner, so much.
Okay, no problem.
All right.
Problem. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.